6.
No, I just took it over there so in case you need one. That's, well, I know, but I just forgot. I forgot you had a hard copy.
Oh, that's just like.
I just sent it for everybody, and I hope so.
See, this goes.
Is
No,
This
they
goes
don't.
all the way out.
I ask you what is the packet?
Utility ministry. This is for
There's
wastewater
plugins down there,
projects
right?
that they have listed that we
No,
need
no,
to
it's
do.
one in front of where you sit. Yes, that's
So,
right.
yeah.
The mayor, the judge uses it.
Wait,
It's in front of Sheena.
Where's that?
It-
What?
so-
Down on the bottom.
Oh, the power strip. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Is this the
underneath.
same one that's in the board packet?
It's
Apparently there's
just over
been
there.
changes, my understanding.
It's the same one's in the
Oh,
packet.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
The one, someone in the board packet, I mean, the council packet.
Yes, it is.
Sheena's been hello, Sheena.
I don't know.
Send this up here.
Hello, Sheena.
So,
Hello, Bob.
this is
I understand there's some changes.
Yeah, I made two.
right with the spreadsheet. This is from what presented.
Oh, this is November.
Yeah. See, this is what's missing. Because they would put this.
Are you gonna ask?
I can't. Yeah. That's your copy. That way you have a hard copy.
I have not
and everything.
responded to
But I
Facebook
mean,
in 10 years.
then we
and
go
still
to
send
water
it.
project.
Y'all are
Good for
live
you.
streaming, by the way.
Projects.
Hello.
Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order, at
Hello.
3:00. All right.
On time.
This is a special called meeting of the city council on February 24th, 2026. Roll call. I'm not going to go through all of that. We'll do that later at the meeting, but we do have a full quorum. All members are present.
Well, this is a special call, so they shouldn't do a roll
You want to do it? Okay, fantastic. Just-
Sheena Martinez, District 1.
Houston Marshall, District 2.
Bill King, District 3.
David Mers Jr. for District 4.
Robert Lee, District 5.
Okay, Bruce Alexander, Mayor. Let the record reflect that everyone is present. All right, now we're going to move into, like we do at every meeting, citizens' comments. The city council will hear comments from any citizen or visitor. Speakers must address their comments to the presiding officer rather than the individual council members or staff. Stand at the podium, speak clearly in the microphone, and state your name, residential address before speaking. Speakers will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes for testimony. In accordance with the State Open Meetings Act, the city council is restricted from discussing or taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Action can only be taken at a future meeting. Is there anyone who'd like to make any citizens' comments? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Adriana Arrington Pollock. I live at 1114 Gentiles, and I'm the chair of the Parks Board. I wanted to give a few comments on why it's a great time to support the grant application that we won from the Texas Parks and Wildlife for the Lions Park Playground. The playground is currently spec'd for all abilities. All inclusive, I think, is a term that's been going around, which is something we have to travel now about 30 miles and increasing traffic to get to. There's been a lot of community support. I sent Mr. Lee the 20 letters that went in the application packet, which also include the survey results that we conducted last year to show that this playground is one of the most requested improvements for Lions Park. And Lions Park is attracting more people due to the organized sports that are occurring there, and rightly so. This property was donated to support the community in this manner, and the playground can serve many more citizens, I think, especially on the north side of 90. There's no publicly accessible playground there, and it's more densely populated. The grant additionally allows us to get more expensive features that the city probably wouldn't otherwise be able to afford, including shade and a special rubberized surface for the playground. Additionally, with respect to the shower house that the pool needs, the Parks Board is recommending increased pool programming to get more revenue from the pool. And to enable that, I think the shower house that we have spec'd in the packet, which is really high level, needs to accommodate families with small children, athletes, and seniors, everybody. So I think that's what we're trying to accomplish there. What also is in that sketch will have features that replace what was in the old pool house. We are of the opinion that many of the prefab options that could be purchased might be too expensive and not fit into the corner of the pool property lot that's available. The shower house that was originally spec'd with the community center, I think, is too small. Thank you for your consideration and time.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to make citizens' comments? One more time. Anybody else would like to make citizens' comments? Hearing none, that'll be ended. And if you could please just uncover while you're in here, I'd appreciate it. Take your hat off. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to item 4, discussion and action items. The item is to discuss and possible action, identify, prioritize, and allocate funding for capital projects related to both general fund and utility fund projects. This is I guess the next one in a series of capital improvement or community projects. The last one we left off, we went through several projects and the city council asked for information, the availability of funds. There was some broad stroke at the last discussion. Now we're going to get down to some more detailed information about how much funds the city may have available for CIP. For CIP projects. So at this time, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Scott, or you, or Leroy, or whoever's going to run it. Yes, sir. Please.
All right, Mayor and Council, thank you very much. So yes, this is a follow along, and hopefully we can get some stuff done today. The request was kind of a more granular discussion of the monies that are available. We'd hit kind of really high level buckets of money last time we met. So this presentation will go into more granular levels of what is available and what can be spent, and which funds are restricted, et cetera. And then the other request was a prioritized list of projects from staff. And we had, what you heard at the last meeting was all of the highest priority. There was nothing that was presented that hadn't already been deemed a priority project by staff. All the lower priority ones we didn't bother presenting. So we selected from that group, we being me, selected from that group and put together a proposed plan. I want to emphasize the proposed plan really is more just a demo. Think about it as a demo, something that illustrates how a CIP might be built, the projects that might go into it. But ultimately, what we're seeking from council is consensus, a consensus agreement on what projects need to be undertaken, and then we'll put together a fee plan or a payment plan on how to address that. That's the goal. And obviously, if we can actually address and fund projects, whether discussing that in today's meeting or in the following meeting, in the council meeting this evening, there are several CIP projects in that one as well. So that's an opportunity for you all to take action on some of what may be discussed today. So there are kind of 4 buckets of money.
Can I interrupt? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I should have said this beforehand. I wanted to. We have a meeting that begins at 5 or 3. We hope to be finished with. Actually, I'd like for council to agree to have a hard stop by 4:45 at the latest, preferably 4:30.
Are you seeking a motion?
I am.
So moved.
I'll second.
Hard stop at 4:45. Right?
Yep.
So I'm going to breeze through these. You've already had these as a read ahead.
Is there any discussion on that? Everybody okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That gives us time to transition to the next meeting.
Good deal.
Thank you.
I will move as quickly as I can through these since you've had these read ahead. There are 2 subtle changes to the slides. One was just additional information I provided, and the other is recognition of some funds that I used in my practice plan, proposed plan, that I wanted to make sure y'all are aware are available for expenditure. So 4 kind of main categories: general fund balance, that's your cash that's available. It's not allocated to anything else. And it's the amount that's above and beyond whatever number of days y'all set. What we're recommending is 120, no fewer than 90 days, from a kind of a generally accepted accounting principles and practices standpoint. 90 days is your minimum threshold. 120 is what gets you that AA rating. It's what your rating agencies want to see, et cetera. So that's generally what we recommend. Utility fund balance, same story there, except that it's for utility funds. Bond funds, these are your borrowed funds. When you issue a bond, there's something called a certificate that goes in front of those. It tells you tells the public that are buying those bonds what you can spend them on. So those are considered restricted for those purposes. But generally, the city, for the most recent bonds we've issued, we try to be fairly generic with those terms to give the council as much latitude as possible, with the exception of these last two bonds that we just now issued at 3.5 apiece, where we kind of narrowed it down in part from the direction of the mayor, like to give a very short list of what that can be used for. And then special revenue funds. These are funds that are received from specific sources that are restricted because of the source. So think of things like the hotel, motel occupancy funds. Those are tax funds that we receive that can't be spent on just anything. The state has actually said, here's what you can spend them on. And the same thing happens with municipal court. There are security funds that we receive that are paid as part when people pay their fines. Those are restricted for municipal court security investments. So when we talk about city hall renovations, that bucket of money, to the extent that we can identify security related enhancements at city hall, those funds can be used for that. But there's not, as you'll see, there's not a lot of money there. So those are the kind of the 4 buckets things generally fall into. One of the requests was kind of where our bond issuance, our history has been. And so we gave you a look. It's from 2021 looking forward, and then what issues we already had outstanding. You can see those amounts there. And that just, again, gives you an idea of what the bond liability or obligations were and what they've grown to from 2021 to now. So here's your special revenue funds. These are some of the ones that I mentioned before. These are the ones that have bank balances, and these balances were as of February the 18th. Special parks projects, and these are funds that generally are donated through various parks events. There's only about $36,000 there. Hotel motel, we have $182,000 is our balance in the hotel motel tax fund. Municipal court technology, that's one I mentioned earlier, or I'm sorry, security is one I mentioned. Technology is another one. It's $33,000. Municipal court security is $67,000, and then the Alsatian House project. And those funds generally come from the bus tours that are done. As you may or may not be aware, Miss Priscilla Garrett does tours. Doesn't charge us anything. She takes people around, and every time a tour comes, they pay a fee, or they'll pay a donation that then goes into this fund. So most of those funds are either donated from folks, either from Alsace or other places, or are part of those tour groups where Priscilla has graciously given her time to do those. But and they're intended for me, but that's a separate policy. Okay. General fund. So here's where we get to the excess fund balance. We tried to show you the math. So you have and we really want to focus on audited numbers. We can give you our rough estimates, but we want to be able, when we're talking about these numbers, we strive to give you audited numbers as much as possible. So FY24, your audited balance was $3,799,000, and then your estimated fund balance, these are pre-audit, is $3,812,000. So just a slight increase. And then you can see, based on our operating budget, how many days that equates to. It's about $14,800 a day to run your local government on the general fund side, and that equates to 257 days. So we're well over that 120-day threshold. So of 1.7 million. So that's how we get to an excess fund balance. Now, again, the only money that counts towards this is your cash, the actual cash on hand. And this is something when the audit's presented to you, it's one of the things that she'll talk about, because you have ongoing liabilities that offset that. So it's about $2 million. And then you see in the note on the bottom, it says plus committed available fund balance. This is what the city council committed. Now, this city council or any future city council can change that. It's not legally restricted. It's just, that's how it was designated a couple of years ago when we first conceived the City Hall remodel project, was how are we going to fund this? Well, one way we could do it is start squirreling away our interest on the general fund. So all that is, that represents the accumulated interest from the general fund. But it's committed for City Hall, but that, again, this council can make a change to that if you so choose.
So my question on that, just curiosity, I understand that, and I may have misunderstood. I thought we used the interest to do the planning. I didn't realize we directed all the interest towards that.
No, yeah, Yeah, so prior to the planning, that when the contract with the current planning group
Yes, sir.
was agreed to, the source of the funds was these funds, but that source, if you will, that committed pool of money already existed. Those were committed funds that existed when we presented you the opportunity to.
So when it was committed, it wasn't targeted how much, it was just generally broad stroke, all the interest income was committed.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Accumulated interest income would be for City Hall, and again,
Okay.
that's something that this council or future council could change.
Okay.
At their,
Thank you.
And that's in the same way that like the water acquisition fee is nominally in a bucket to be used for water acquisition, but we could raid that bucket for other water system uses.
No,
Mm-mm.
because water acquisition is for water acquisition. Now, if you were to, and I'll have to look, and it's a good thing for Dan to be here and listen to. That's the type of thing where I would seek an attorney's opinion to find out whether there's any legal restrictions on monies that were where we charged a fee, because that's a fee on your utility bill for a designated purpose. So I would have to find out what the latitude is from council to spend that money on something other than water acquisition.
I don't want to keep going on this because you got a lot to do, but the way you just explained it to me, am I correct in assuming that as interest is credited to the general funds, that this amount available continues to grow because you're committing all of the interest income to that?
That's correct. Yeah,
I was not aware of that.
on the bank side, and you can see
Okay.
over 3 years, it's added up to that.
Okay,
For
thank you.
So it's
okay, thank you.
okay. So then this is your utility funds. Same thing here. Only the actual cash balances are what you use to figure out how much you have available. And without going through all the numbers, it's a very similar process to what we did just to the general fund. You have about 283 days here. Again, well above the 120, which would be about a $3 million amount that you want to try to keep in your fund balance. That leaves you with $4 million. Now, part of the cash that's making up this $4 million is a pool of restricted funds, and that's what's on this next slide. It's these amounts. It's the water acquisition, the water sewer impact fee, and the utility drainage fund, because that's actually cash holdings. That's cash money in the bank, but they are restricted. So if you were to spend these monies, you have to spend them for one of the purposes identified on those lines. It looks like Bob Lee has a
Yeah, Bob Lee has a question. My understanding was we directed that these funds be used to purchase water, and I remember looking at reports we did purchase water, so.
Yeah, you're
What's
right.
going on with 437?
No, you're right. You're right. So I need to, we bought, however much, we bought 46 acre feet.
Yeah,
So I'm wondering if
I know
maybe
I
that just,
signed it.
I'm wondering if that transfer hasn't taken place. Thank you, Councilman.
What, on that note, I just want to make a comment along what Councilman Mercer said. And
Yeah.
I know you already answered, it'd be an attorney issue, but there's a difference between legally restricted and self-restricted.
That's correct.
And the water acquisitions is self-restricted. The utility drainage is self-restricted. The impact fees is a legal restriction.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, usually we make a difference between committed and restricted.
I understand. I just wanted to clarify that there's two types of restricted funds. There's the restricted for INS or debt service, restricted in impact fees, the security fees with the municipal court, things like that, certain things with PD. And there's a difference in how what we classify as restricted. Okay. I'm good. I don't want to mess with it. I just want to
one of the
clarify.
things-
There's
one
different
of the things I
definitions
wanted
of
to
that.
delve into is like water acquisition.
Sure.
If you put it on a utility bill, you said this is for water acquisition, and then you rated it and said we're going to put a water line in.
I agree with it should be restricted, but I just wanted to clarify for purposes, it's restricted by us, not by
State
legal,
statute.
not by a statute.
Yeah. Again, I just would have to look at
Okay, thank you.
how much freedom you have.
Okay.
with those. Okay. So these are kind of your three restricted areas. Now there's other funds that we're going to get into
Sure.
in the very next slide that are restricted in other ways. But here you are, water sewer impacts and utility drainage. And impact fees, just to understand, like there are also legal requirements about what those money can be spent on. Just because it's a water project or a sewer project doesn't necessarily mean you can use impact fees for that project, because it has to be something that was identified in setting the fee. It's kind of like a TERS.
It has to be set in your capital improvement plans, but it also, there's requirements, or there used to be, that it has to be expended within 10 years of collecting, or you got to give it back. So we need with that kind of balance, I think we need an accounting on that, on how much we need to spend out of that.
That's a great point. That's one of the areas where we need to make, that's one of the pools of money that you'll see that I did make some use of, but one of the things we'd have to validate is the use that we've identified, one of those uses. Typically, your sewer plant expansions, if it's expanding the sewer plant or remodeling a sewer plant, generally that's going to be an accepted use for an impact fee.
Yes, sir.
Same thing with water plant type improvements. If they're water plant improvements that have to use supply, okay, Houston's ready to keep going, then it'll be an impact. All right.
Question.
Yes.
So we borrowed millions of the sewer plant and other things. I assume all those are not paid off yet.
No.
Correct.
So really some of this money, as you said, it's obligated already. We really can't, we shouldn't go spend it on something else when we owe millions of dollars that we've yet to pay.
Well, your ongoing revenues in the utility funds are that your rates are set appropriately to pay your debt service. So you're not relying on your cash balances to pay your debt service.
Okay, my understanding was the impact fees specifically were to repay the debt
No.
on that.
No.
They were not.
No. Impact fees are separate. They're for expansion of your. You think about it this way. It's kind of in the name. In the impact fees are intended to minimize the impact that growth has on a community and on a system, and to pay for future expansion of those systems, water or sewer, that may be needed down the road. So that's why there's kind of a limited set of projects. Water lines or sewer lines by themselves aren't covered in that. That's maintenance items.
That's the way I understand it.
Expansions are covered under
That's the same way I understand it. But
try to move along. So this is your other list of funds. Customer deposits really aren't available for spending. They're deposits. You're supposed to hold on to them. You can give them back if you so chose. If you felt like they were no longer needed.
I thought we had a policy after so many years we get it back. We don't do that?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Okay. I just thought I'd ask.
There's
We
three
argued
lines.
about that in August.
Okay.
There are 3 lines below this: CWSRF and DWSRF. Those are clean water and drinking water state revolving funds. These are monies that are left over from prior projects. That's why the dates, you have a 2013, 2015 dates. These predate almost everybody in the room as far as who was working here at the time at the city. But they're sitting in these accounts because they're basically monies the city borrowed for specific projects and never spent, or closed out the projects, but then didn't close them out properly to get those funds released. So these funds are available, but there's a little bit of a caveat, and I know the mayor knows a lot about that. So when we get to that section on how to spend those funds, he can help advise council on that. The bond 2023, I added the word encumbered. It was not in your original packet, because these funds, for all intents and purposes, are spent. They're not available for spending. The 2023 bond, that's completely encumbered. 2024, a very small portion of that's encumbered, meaning it's already been obligated. The remainder, that 1.3 million, is not obligated. Now, y'all do have on March 24th, you will award a contract to go and make improvements on Garza Creek, and that'll, whatever that contract amount is, it's going to reduce this 1.3 million by that amount.
Excuse me.
Yes.
You said the 2023 bond's encumbered?
Yes.
It's not marked encumbered. What's it?
I know. I changed it on the slide to clarify.
What's it encumbered for?
Those are all the projects that have already been approved that are like underway. I can give you a list. Well, actually, that's the list. When you look in your project sheet,
Okay.
it's those projects.
That was a question I was going to.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
those projects.
So
it's like the SCADA and
$1,000,004 is out there we have, but it's encumbered.
yes.
Okay.
And some of it's, again, this is the cash balance today, but some of those are invoices that are in process.
Sure.
So drainage 2024, you have 1.3, like I said, that's unencumbered, but there's going to be a portion of that on March 24th you're going to encumber, depending on that amount.
What's the difference between the two drainages? The same bond, encumbered 67, encumbered 1.3. I understand the 1.3, you're waiting for cards. What's the 67?
The 67 has already been spent, so that's the engineering that we spent on Garza Creek.
Okay, all right.
2025 encumbered. This is a water well project, so that's a perfect example if you're trying to struggle. What's encumbered versus unencumbered. That's the amount of the water well that was drilled and what that ended up costing us. It's 1.9. It's slightly less than 2.1 or 2.2 that we actually issued it for. So that came in less than budget. And the unencumbered amount is 1.5. And that's where the project where you want to put in the pump, Mayor, that's where that money would come from, is that unencumbered portion, the 1.5.
So on this page right here, the 2013, 15, 1 million, and then 600,000. Nope, the reserves. What are the reserves? Are those bond debt reserves? The clean water and the drinking water, the third and fourth one when you say reserves.
Yeah,
Are
that
those
is
interest in sinking and debt service requirements?
no.
What are the reserves for then?
Yeah, that's just that's what I was saying earlier. Those are the unexpended funds from those
Okay,
projects.
so all three of those are unexpended.
And I've given you the amount, so I'll fast forward real quick to the next slide.
Okay,
So Mayor, you look at the highlighted portion up above. It's not on your slide. Right there, I added that because I realized I didn't have that amount in there. And you'll see that in my kind of proposed plan, I gave you the amounts on the slides, but I didn't realize I hadn't put it in this summary slide. So this is a summary slide. Those amounts, that CWS, SRF, adds up to 1.9 million. I think that's the number you're probably trying to get at.
that's what I'm getting.
So when we're looking at the funds that you have available, and this is one of the things I know Councilman Marshman was really wanting to see. Under general fund, you have your cash of $2 million, you have that City Hall committed of $443, and then you have the bond that you issued in 25 of $3.5 million. On the utility fund side, you have available fund balance of about $1.6 million. You have the restricted purposes, the $2.5 million. Again, that's most of that is impact fees. So those are very specific projects that will be able to be spent on, but it is available for spending. And then the 1.9 million, that's CWSRF and DWSRF. Those can be water and sewer line type projects, but they're going to most likely require Texas Water Development Board approval. So there will be a process, but those funds should be looked at as available for expenditure on water and sewer improvements. Depending, your clean water is your sewer stuff. Your drinking water is your water stuff. They don't, for whatever reason, they don't call it water and sewer. But so when you're looking at those amounts, that's how to think about those. And then your bond series drainage, you've got 1.3. Again, you got to think mental math. What is that Garza Creek project going to cost us, and take that amount out, and that balance would be available for stuff around in the Athens area or other projects that we might do that are drainage related. And then the bond series 2025, you've got remaining on that utility fund bond, you have $1.5 million.
Well, so really, real fast numbers, 1.9, 1.4, and even if we took half the impact, if we could, there's a potential for $6 million in water and wastewater system improvements.
Yeah.
$6 million in water that are targeted for water and wastewater.
Yeah.
Okay, and then of course the drainage, and then any other utility would be out of the 1.6 fund balance if we want to do anything else. So the big winner is water and wastewater.
Yes. Yeah.
Got it.
Luckily, we have
it is a
plenty
little
of projects
complicated.
in need of spending.
Yes,
It is a little complicated because some of these funds, again, are kind of in a restricted status.
I understand.
But yeah. You
Okay.
summarized it well. I think Bob Lee had his hand up.
Thank you.
I like the fact that you can spend, but you can't spend them. Of this page you have it there right now, some of these funds are already committed to specific projects that we're looking to complete. Is that correct?
On the funds you're looking at right there, the only ones that are committed for a project or will be committed is the 1.3 million bond series 2024 drainage, and that's the Garza Creek project. You're going to more than likely approve a project that will have some unknown cost to it because we haven't received the proposals yet. and that'll eat through that portion of that 1.3. But the rest of those funds, those are not. The rest of those funds are available. Yep. Okay. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this. This is just the various bond projects. This is where you're asking where the encumbered amounts were.
Sure.
This is where you can see some of those encumbrances on the general fund side, the utility fund side, and what's been spent. This is a repeat of several reports that we've received in the past.
I posed a question to Leroy and he kind of answered it, but I just want to clarify. YTD to me means year to date. And if you tell me year to date, we spent millions of dollars.
Yeah.
We spent $4.5 million year to date, and our fiscal year started in October. I didn't realize we spent $4.5 million since October.
So thank you for pointing that out. It should say total actual instead of year to date actual. Because really and truly, this is about those projects, the total that was spent on those projects, whether it's in the current year or in from 2021 to now.
Okay.
Right? From the time the bond was issued.
That's the total amount that's been allocated on that
So it should
assessed to
say
the bonds.
Year to date actual really should say total.
Got it. Okay.
Yep. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then, and I don't need to spend more time than you actually want me to on this, but these were just proposed projects. Now, the only other area that I made a change in was to clarify the projects for street maintenance. I got a question or a comment that y'all wanted to see what those projects would consist of if we were to spend it. The plan that you received in January, you may or may not recall seeing this, but you received a Good Roads proposal on what our maintenance plan could look like. And I promised that when we have our CIP meeting, we would talk more about that. That's really what we tried to do at the last meeting, and we're doing again at this meeting. The recommendation from staff would be to implement that plan. You can see that their figures have this costing around $300,000 a year for the first 3 years of implementation. And they've identified these streets. So if they're highlighted on this map in either purple, pink, or light blue or blue, those are the streets that they're targeting to complete. Now, this is in that report that you have, and I can resend it to you following this meeting so you can review it if you'd like. But it was sent, it was in the packet that was on the January 13th meeting. So you can also find it there.
Okay.
Can I say something really obvious for the people on stream who can't quite see the screen?
Sure.
All of these streets are some of the ones that are newest or have most recently been repaved.
Right.
This leaves the vast majority of downtown Castroville, the gridded portion, completely untouched in the first 3 years.
Yeah, the recommendation is go and make sure your investments actually stand the test of time. Like right now, again, what the report kind of teaches us and tells us is right now is the best time to seal those roads and prevent further degradation. Understanding that a lot of people are going to look at this and go, you're fixing the best roads. We're making sure that investment you made 2 or 3 years ago is going to last. That's the goal.
So can I ask, and this is probably not a short answer, so forgive me, that 300,000 for each of the first, is it for each of the first 3 years?
Yes.
Would that have to increase after that in order to eventually get to those other roads?
Yeah, so if you go through that report, it actually starts to identify here's what your PCI ratings are, and it gives you a full kind of analysis of, based on PCI rating, this is what it would take to fix that road. So yes, you can anticipate spending more, especially if you delay, right?
And then once the whole city has been fixed up, rebuilt to a higher standard, more similar to some of the ones that are highlighted here, that annual maintenance would, ignoring inflation, still be much higher than $300,000 a year.
No, well, the annual maintenance should be, I wouldn't say much higher. It should be in the realm, right? Providing for inflation, it should be in the realm of what you're paying to maintain them now, right? Because there will be inflationary costs that will adjust.
Well, we're not really.
But if you're in the maintenance mode as opposed to having to replace, and that's the whole point of the project that we put together for you all to consider is, it will take us time to get to a point where we're just in maintenance mode, and there's going to take an investment. But if you're able to dedicate the right resources to that, you can get to the point where you're just in maintenance mode. And And that would be the goal.
Sheena, go ahead.
Yes. So River Bluff cannot be overlaid. It has to be broken down to the base and rebuilt from scratch.
Yeah,
Because
so
the dips and waves are so significant, the overlay stuff will not work. I'm a product of how bad the roads are. So 123,000 for a river trail, you forget it. You have to break her all the way down, lay new base, and build her all the way up for all the roads in River Bluff. And we had somebody in here, I think a year ago, that when they did the survey, when we had that company that went through town and everything, they specifically said River Bluff, the whole neighborhood has to be broken down, new base, and built back up because the waves are so bad, overlay would be a waste of money.
okay. That's true on a lot of the roads in River Bluff. The two that they've identified, this is the treatment that they're recommending. River Trail.
River Trail is my street.
Right, I understand.
There's a severe dip just when I go off my driveway to get in my truck. It's waves. The overlay is not going to work. It's going to be a waste of money.
Go ahead, Bob.
And I'm not about wasting money. I want to do it right. Sorry.
Well,
All right, I'm done for now. Yeah.
Bob, go ahead.
Yep. Why don't you give the projected lifespan on a double seal coat and an asphalt road as far as how long it can go from new without maintenance and then how frequently it has to be maintained. My second part is there's two civil engineers in our family. One does extensive road work for the state of Texas. We drove River Bluff many years ago. He correctly said, this place has got soil problems you probably can never correct. And we have spent an extraordinary amount of money in the last 20-something years on River Bluff, but because of the subsoil and the canal and stuff, we need to carefully consider exactly how much we want to put into that. And I doubt that asphalt is the answer. If you'll give us the lifespans on those road surfaces, Mayor, I'd appreciate it.
I can tell you on a double seal coat, I know people don't like to hear this, but it depends. It depends on the materials we used, the oils, the aggregate, the installation, and how things were prepared. I like to use the street right in front of us because the last time it was completely reconstructed was in 1984. It's a double seal coat road. But then I can point to other double seal coat roads that don't last 2 years. So it comes down to how it's maintained, how it's operated. Traffic is its friend. Okay? So, I mean, I'm not an engineer. I'm not trying to play one. So it's different one. Big difference. This road, we used to use river gravel. Anybody knows aggregate, river gravel is hard stuff. But the new stuff they use is limestone, which breaks down and doesn't last a lot. Then some people use the Canipa rock, which is a really hard rock, but they don't like to use that as much because that doesn't break down as much and has more breakage on windows and things like that. Anyway, there's a lot of different ways. You got to look at your materials and how it is. I have a question about Alsatian Oaks. What is it up there when that subdivision's only 5 years old?
It's about preservation of the streets. I mean, that's the goal. We want to make these things last as long as possible. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's the goal. But what I would suggest is, just like the conversation about River Bluff, first the question is, I think I know the answer. Is a consensus to do a streets plan? And if it is, what I would suggest is let's bring back the group. They've already offered to do this, but have the Good Roads group come in and defend kind of their model and talk about what they're recommending and why, because that's really, as far as the staff side, we're not the experts. We did bring a group in to look at that. You all supported that. I would suggest that if we're going to be critical of it, let's bring in the experts and have that conversation.
But after when they came in, we briefed. This is from the November 2024 meeting we had regarding CIP, and we have on here. This goes from 2024 to 2032. We have street overlay and maintenance. For 2026, we had 110,000 projected, then 115,000, then 120,000 from 2026 to 2028. For street replacement, we had for 2026 1.1 million, 2027 1.1 million, and 2028 1.2 million. What happened to those plans?
You don't have any money.
I understand, but the
What's that?
spreadsheet that we've been using
Okay.
all this time, we've been showing and reporting to citizens and everything, saying this is our plan, this is what we think we should do.
We can fund it. You got to find the funding.
I understand that, but we still need to show this spreadsheet of projects and what we were talking about.
What you're suggesting is that no matter the council, we're going to stick with this plan that we adopted, that council adopted 3 years ago.
This is unfunded though. We still should show these projects because it's infrastructure that still needs to be.
I think what I want to add to this, I'm going to jump in for a second.
Sure.
Okay, whether it be this council, the previous council, the next council, whatever, you don't put a plan and put it on the shelf. Everybody gets an opportunity to look at a plan and revise it accordingly.
Right.
So the priorities may shift from year to year, but they still are on the plan. It just will move on down. Now, I'm going to say a couple things really quick about the streets, because what I'm find myself in a conversation here with no disrespect to anybody, but it's the same type of conversation the city council has had for as long as I've been with the city. When it comes down to the streets, it's trying to pick what the priorities on the projects are. I do understand the streets in River Bluff. I was there when they were building it. They have a horrible foundation. I got it. I get it. So I
We
do
better
know
make
that.
sure the guy who was in charge of checking those isn't working here anymore.
He's not. He was terminated.
I thought it was you.
No, sir, it wasn't. We were specifically by the city administrator prohibited from going in the River Bluff subdivision. Prohibited.
It wasn't part of the city at the time.
Yes, it was.
Oh,
But
it
we were
was.
prohibited from going in there and checking. So,
Let's fire that administrator.
pardon me?
Let's fire that administrator.
We did. We did.
Are we
And
getting
that's-
off track?
and I can go into more and more with that. But anyway, beside the thing is, I also talked to the county, and obviously there's certain rules about what the county can't help. The county cannot serve as our contractor, but the county can help us on designated projects if we work out agreements with them. What was proposed, and this is what I'm proposing later, and I don't want to get in a long drawn out thing. What the county commissioner has told me is actually said, I would love to work with your public works director to identify some projects that we could partner with. So anyway, I'm not saying we can't do all these roads, but we have to have the plan to lay them out
Right.
and start working on them. The redo of the roads in River Bluff, no, we can't afford to do
Right.
them all,
I understand.
but we can piecemeal,
Well,
just like everything else.
And going back, like you're right. You do have a plan. It was unfunded. That can be considered as part of this exercise. Is what elements from the old plan do you want to now fund?
Right.
Right. But that's out of respect for the council that's here now. That's what we're discussing. Is what is your priority? And certainly you could just start with the old plan and say, okay, here was our plan, guys. Which of these do we want to do? Is this still our list of priorities or not? That would certainly be one way to do this.
Sir, oh, go ahead. You haven't gone.
So,
I'm sorry.
my first question is, what is the total that you're showing we can spend in general? With taking out the 433, 620 for committed funds for city hall?
Yeah. Well, again, so there's the slide.
And what's the total?
That'd be
$6
$7 million.
million.
yeah. Well,
$6 million.
you said taking out. Hold on.
Well, you can leave it in there because we're going to spend it on city hall. That's what I asked for. I can
Okay.
do the math. I'm just saying it gets frustrating. I got $5,967,000.
There's $6 million on either one, roughly.
Right. That's right.
So that why did I gotta ask this question? This is easy. What we got this year, and I think this is the fourth meeting we've done, really where we had blue numbers together, is not this. And there's no forward plan. There's no. It's just start and stop.
Well, that.
Let me finish.
Okay.
If we can't see this, I didn't know this this existed until Sheena gave it to me. And roads, when you throwing 100 grand at roads, no wonder it's stuck. Look at her leg. You know what I mean? We need to be able to see this, and we need to plan like this, not for just this year, but for the next 5.
Yeah,
Because for the next council that comes in, where they can see this thing, that's how our roads end up like this.
well, Council Marsh, you may not recall, but when you were first elected, one of the things I don't remember if we did as a candidate or when you were appointed, but we sat down and looked at the budget together and we looked at the CIP, because the CIP it lives on its own. It's its own document.
Right.
So I did show you both documents. You may not recall that. There's been
Well,
a
we
lot of
did.
meetings between now and
Yeah,
then.
that's not important. That we hadn't seen this in any of these CIP meetings, and that's what I was looking for.
Yeah,
But secondly, with streets, throwing 100 grand at it is a joke, and that creates the same stuff that we've been fighting. And citizens deserve better. I mean, to me, if I'm looking at streets and what you face, and in general, I would go at least 7 figures on streets now, because we're never going to get ahead of it doing it for 100 grand.
I think that's been one of our real challenges is the limited resources we have available and how to spend those. And in the past, we tried to do a little bit of everything, a little bit of roads, a little bit of facilities, a little bit of parks. And you're right, like the need is way higher than that. And it's
But
just a
streets
matter of,
come before infrastructure comes before everything else.
I understand that's your opinion and I'm hearing it loud and clear. That's where we need consensus on, okay,
Right.
we have $6 billion. Do we spend it all on streets?
No, but we don't spend 100 grand.
Okay. So what is the
And that's
amount?
for us to work out.
Sure.
No, I just agreed with this discussion.
I'll say that those numbers,
I think
so
that
just so
was
you
great.
understand, like the numbers in the CIP where you see 200,000, 1.5, those were, as was explained in this meeting, like the first 3 years, once we get a consensus on what projects we're going to adopt, and you give staff the latitude to say, okay, this is what we want to focus on. We start to put together proposals and spending plans and all that. Those numbers will be fairly accurate. The further you get out beyond the 3 years, it's just spitballing. So,
And
a
we
lot
know
of those
that.
numbers are spitballing.
We know that, but this gives us a projection
Yeah.
to plan around.
I think
What I hear Sheena saying is she likes the adopted CIP and the priorities. Now, the challenge with the priorities on those, keep in mind when that CIP was adopted, the intent was, and the money that was allocated was, and I've said this in the past, we were planning on borrowing $6 million. Is that right? $6 million every 2 years in the utility fund.
Right.
And I can't remember what the amount was in the general fund, but it's in that report. $2.5 million every
Something like
2
that.
years or something like that. So at the end of the 10-year cycle, you would have borrowed roughly $10 million in the general fund and $36 million in the utility fund. I think that was the plan. But we weren't able to do that because the growth did not come. And I kind of talked about that
Yeah.
before.
I'm just going to say a problem I have with this whole thing is if we had this information when we did the budget 6 months ago, we were already been working on some of these capital projects. We're 6 months behind. We are, and who knows how long the council was before. If we knew we had the potential to have $12 million to spend, wouldn't we have some projects working right now?
Well, $7 million, all due respect.
Or excuse me, or $5 million. Even if we only had five.
$7 of that.
Okay, even if
to
we only had
borrow.
5, we'd have projects already working right now instead of here we are 6 months and just finding out what capital we have to be able to invest in capital improvements.
Okay, again, when we have the budgetary discussions, part of what is shared is where our fund balances are. So we've been reporting our fund balance. You're aware of it. We may not have broken down on these levels,
Okay.
but just like you and I did at the last meeting, you can kind of ballpark. It's about $2 million. When you look at this, there it is. It's about $2 million in the general fund, and it's about $2 million in unrestricted. It's really 1.6 on utility fund.
But
Rest of the money's restricted.
this is the first time we've been given an in-depth discussion about how much bond monies we have unspent. This is the first time this issue has come up.
On the
that we've
you're
had
referring to the CWSRF and the DWSRF.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. David?
Yeah, so a few things. So this spreadsheet is actually available on the city website. You click on financial documents and you see the budget, and you see this updated to the current status of everything.
That's nice.
I think I actually printed this out myself several years ago. But also, this is kind of the finished product. This is what Mr. Dixon wants to get us to. He needs to hear what projects we actually think belong on here so that he can build this and fill it out by mixing and matching the funds off of the available sheet to the projects we have. However, you're saying, if you had known how much money it's going to take to do streets, we would have been doing. I brought this to the budget meetings, and I read off. It was the meeting where we had all the department heads in here, and I asked the same question over and over of our poor public works director, where we'd get to streets, and I'd say, okay, in our CIP document, we have $3.5 million in unfunded repairs, replacements, and maintenance in streets. Does this budget enable us to do that work? And he'd say no. He was very cooperative. I appreciate that. But
Wait, I got a question. You said in our CIP document we have unfunded $3.5 million.
everything in
that
here,
document
everything
that
in
we
here
haven't seen.
that's white
That
is
ain't
unfunded.
existing.
There was never a funding source identified that would definitely cover it.
But it
But-
wasn't
but-
used in these meetings.
Hang on,
Well-
at the budget workshop,
Yeah.
there was a discussion back and forth on street, yes.
And
we agreed to
did
put-
it in
we
streets,
agreed
and
to
I did
put-
it in water. I
you
did it in
did,
electric.
But we agreed to put $250,000 in the budget
and I think that was good.
with the caveat that we anticipated that in increased tax revenue. If not, we'd pull it out of reserves.
Yeah, we
Had we
budgeted
known
it
we
as
had
a
$2
spending.
million, maybe we would have put 400 and be paving right now. That's my point.
Okay. But what I want to continue is if you, again, this is on
yes,
the
sir.
city website,
Yes, sir.
and I've brought these numbers over and over, and I can just sum up and tell you, there's about $40 million in unfunded repairs, replacements, and maintenance in here
Not arguing.
over an 8-year period. If you want to start making real progress on doing those, and that's not, repainting the playgrounds in the park. That's streets, wires, pipes, and cables. I don't think this is why I say this. It's not because I want to pay higher taxes. I know a lot of people up here have their tax rates frozen because we have exemptions for fully disabled veterans. We have exemptions for people over 65. I'm neither of those things. I don't want higher taxes for the rest of my life, but that's why I keep coming here and saying it, because 12 million with various caveats on it is not going to get us through that 40 million. And at the end of 20 to 30 years, that 40 million is going to happen again. And so I think it's important that we remember that these are not the only amount we can spend, because we can also spend sales tax, property tax, and utility revenue. And as the governing body of a city, City Council has the right and the responsibility to raise the funds we need to operate our government by adopting appropriate rates. That is radically different from any business or even from most state and federal agencies that any of us have ever worked in. And we can't forget or ignore that responsibility and put off those repairs, replacements, maintenance indefinitely. So I absolutely agree with you. 400,000 is probably a bit low for streets in the long term. But I don't think we're going to be able to fit it in just this indefinitely. And it's an indefinite kind of thing. So it'd be great if everyone could kind of, I know this was maybe not distributed as wide as it could have been, but kind of keep that in mind too as we're going through this, because in a couple slides, I imagine there's going to be something about water lines. There's going to be something about trimming trees off of our electric lines and gas lines and the wastewater treatment plant. There's like 17 million just in the wastewater treatment plant and necessary stuff. We're going to run out of this 12 million pretty dang fast. So thank you.
I'm still waiting.
Yeah, you're good. I'm done for now.
That end. Are you all done down there?
You're gonna say something, Bob?
Well, you know that I am.
Well, then, let me say before you.
You absolutely, sir.
David, very good very good thoughts. One thing is for instance, council 2-3 years ago elected to build a new community center, even though we had all these existing needs. So the city committed over $500,000. It's probably going to end up being close to $1 million, and I may be throwing that number high, but I think it's close to get it to. And then here, for instance, as we said in the citizens' comment, Andrea, which, you know, I think everybody would love to do this, but we're making, and you've always said, oh, it's smart to get smart money if we can go and match money. But if you can match money from this grant, which is, I think it's a 50-50 grant. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about, you know, another committing, you know, pushing $1 million. $750,000. But that's taken away from streets and everything. So yeah, we have to balance these things. I think everybody agrees this would be a great thing to do, but at the same time, it's taken away from these current needs. And it's just something, it adds up on us. I actually looked up, I just happened to see my first swearing-in thing. So I've been on council 9 of the last 11 years. And these same discussions occurred 11 years ago. Mm-hmm. And the fact that since I've been on council, I know we had this cash reserve. That's what gave us a bond rating. And David, when you're saying we can use sales tax and everything else, that's what that cash money is. So that's where that money is. And yes, we can use that. But we have these, there are just so many needs. For 11 years, I've been frustrated because we're spending money. We just, where do you spend money? That's all I was going to say. Bob.
Yes, sir.
I give you my floor. If the mayor approves.
Go right ahead,
Well,
Mr.
you
Lee.
maintain the floor then. Same movie, different actors. And it's been going on a lot longer than that. We have more expenses than we have revenue. Anyway, I'm glad that it's on the minds of us now, because a year ago there wasn't really spending anything. And so, you know, beginning last year, we said, you know, we gotta commit some money to the road. So that's a good thing. I am definitely in favor of us having a maintenance plan, whether it's with this company or somebody else's, that we maintain what is in place. Here's the problem, though. You're going to, you know, those coatings last 3-5 years maybe. Meanwhile, the rest of the town is going to pot, and they're going to start screaming, you know, how come you continue to take care of these guys? Because you go about 3 or 4 years, you spent that $1 million. The first one's ready to be done again that you did 3 years ago, and you never get to the rest of them. Alsatian Oaks was supposed to not require any maintenance. We don't get any measurable amount of general fund money from them, yet their street's going to have to be done. They're as big as Castroville, almost. They will be. And so you're going to consume all of your money to take care of the better quality streets in Alsatian Oaks and not have enough money to take care of the rest of it. But be that as it may, you got to do something. And remember, I want you to remember about a week, one meeting ago, we looked at spending $80-something thousand to look at refurbing an ordinance. Okay. That money is out of the same box as this. And would you rather spend it on something that's affecting something that's going to have a material difference? The other thing I look at is if you build a facility, it lasts 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, 90, 100 years. And so there's a blend between fixing roads and doing facilities. Okay, facilities last forever. They require maintenance, but not near the amount that roads do.
People usually don't drive across your facilities.
I understand that, but there's an investment that pays off long term. And other stuff that you have to do. Roads, you have to do something with them. I think we'll go back to dirt and wagon wheels. But anyway, I wanted to ask you about what the county was considering doing, because that should impact that. I think a strategy might be to say the regional park and the library serve the county more than they serve the citizens of Castroville. We have a couple of projects in this CIP about the park parking and the library parking that would be good things, because they've got the expertise to do some heavy duty road work. And by the way, those cold overlays they did for us about 12, 13 years ago, some of those have lasted 10 years with hardly any sign of degradation at all. Think about that. Far beyond seal coat, far beyond asphalt by itself. They've just done wonderful. But I think we're on the right track, and we're going to have to make some, as he says, some difficult choices that people may not like to put the money where it does the most good for the most citizens. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to clarify the county participation in doing anything in the city limits. They're legally required to the city must compensate them for any work they do within the city, by way of cash, by way of utility services, by way of in-kind, but there has to be a benefit that the county receives for doing work within the city. The county, from talking with the commissioner and the county judge, they have no problem helping us as needed with a paving project here or a paving project there, but it has to go through an agreement first. Basically, it's compensation back. They cannot or will not serve as our street contractor, so it's on a I guess maybe if you have 5 blocks of road to pay for something like that, it's projects. It's based on projects. So it's not an open-ended ticket to use the county. So part of the cost in doing these, and you have to keep this in mind, there's a huge, huge difference in using county resources, in-house resources, or contracting it out. Obviously, if you got to contract everything out, I don't know, you'd be lucky to get a third of the work that you want done for the amount of money, maybe even less. So you gotta weigh all of those in looking at it. So simply, and don't get me wrong, I'd love to put $500,000 a year into street projects, but you could burn that all up on one contract on one road if you're not careful on how you manage that. So I just wanted to throw that out. We have to do something. We always have to do, but we have to come to terms with what we believe is based on information provided, I'm going to say, from Public Works, from the people that have done the survey out there. We have to rely on what their recommendation is on the priority of the streets, i.e., and we need to respect that and move on. Otherwise, we're constantly back here talking about this street or that street or that street. That's just my opinion in moving forward. Yes, we're the funding now, but we work through it. I think we're on agreement that we need to do something.
I was just going to pick a nit here.
Yes.
I don't think we have to do what Public Works suggests, but I think it would be wise to pay very close attention to what they're.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. That's a first recommendation I would propose. Anyway, we spoke a lot about this. We're in agreement with putting money for streets. Scott, would you please carry on?
Sure. And I would just suggest, like with streets, it kind of boils down to how much we're going to try and allocate, and how much do you want to get done, and then how we go about funding it. Right?
Sure.
Do we borrow money to do it? Do we spend down our cash?
Well, we look at it too, and I'll tell you something we used to look at. We set aside so much for overlay, just seal coat, clean the silt lines, patch the road, shoot it with another overset. Or we set aside for different methods. What type of are we going to completely reconstruct that road? So there's different cost values on each one, different assessments for each one. Way you look at it this way. If you want to just do overlays, boy, you want to get something done really quick, pick a bunch of streets and start laying down overlay. Just seal coat over the top of things. But that doesn't always fix it.
That's right.
So you have to look at each one.
And I think Kevin Goodroad's come in and do a presentation.
Yes.
Be a good next step. So I don't know how much time you want to spend on these, because I think y'all had a productive conversation just talking about streets, and we could go back and just look at the adopted CIP and look at what was unfunded and try to reprioritize those. There's a couple of different ways to try and skin this cat, but what I did was try to do what we've done in the past and look at, okay, we have the money we have available, roughly $5 million total on the general fund side, the 3.5 plus the 2. And how would we try to hit a little bit of everything, right? And that may not be your method, may not be what you want to try to do. But that's what this plan accomplishes, is it puts a little bit of money in streets, it puts a little bit of money in facilities, expanding the library, doing the parking at the library. It takes care of some drainage issues out of Steinbach, which is on the agenda for tonight, I believe. At least there's some related items.
Scott, I just want to, this is really what I like to see, because I'm still want to see this. These general fund projects, I'm going back. The general fund projects, utility fund projects, the budget amount, the actual amount spent, are those projects closed? Or how many of those projects are still open?
Yeah.
Because the closed ones I really don't care about.
Yeah, in your
because they're
first
done.
presentation, the first CIP workshop,
Yeah.
I'll resend it to you all. We
Yeah.
highlighted, here's the projects that are still open. And it's
Okay.
4 or 5.
Okay,
And we gave you the amount that was encumbered.
That's what I
related
thought.
to those. Yeah.
so a lot of these
I
on
didn't do
these
that.
lists are
I didn't
closed,
repeat those slides because
but a lot of these are closed out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay,
In fact,
sorry.
the vast majority of our projects are done.
Okay.
We've got a few that are like at 90%. The SCADA project's like at 90%.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
going through these real quick, like that's kind of was the idea, is how do we do a little bit of everything and cover a broad spectrum. This is just one concept. Obviously, there's many ways to do this. And then I put together, then I listed those out. So I gave you slides, and then I gave you like, okay, this is what those are, and the amounts associated with them, and when I would recommend putting those the timelines on them. And then I took and told you, okay, this is where those fund balances I showed you at the beginning. Here's what the amount available is. Here's what that project would spend, and then here's the balance of funds that would still be available for spending on something else if you so chose. And I really just wanted to put this together as an illustration of one way to tackle this. Now, what would the product of the output of this exercise would be an updated CIP, like the one that was adopted. All of this would be put into the CIP, depending on what you all identify and how you want to fund things. And then I went through and did the same exercise with Public Works. Now I focused on non-facility related things. I think we shared during our meeting, the highest rated project by staff was a new Public Works facility. Understanding, however, that the City Council feels strongly about infrastructure. Infrastructure comes first, as you heard Councilman Marshman say earlier. So this really focused on infrastructure. I did include the facility, but I put it as like a future bond issue, thinking that might be more appropriate given the feedback I was receiving. So this has the San Jacinto water line. It has a water SCADA system upgrade. It has potable water system improvements. Flat Creek water well. That's the one that's going to be on tonight's agenda, I believe. Country Village drainage channel improvements. Garza Creek drainage culvert. So we don't know what that proposal is going to come in at, but I think this is based on some of the preliminary conversations. It should be in that amount, in that ballpark range. The new Public Works building as a future bond issue, and the repurposing existing digester is future impact fees, and so collected. And then Country Village improvements. I think tonight the thing on the agenda really is on the planning, right, Mayor? Like,
Yes.
actually approving the engineering that would be required to produce
A lot of those are
a plan.
planning. A lot of those issues are planning.
Right. But this amount is more associated with what it would actually take to get it done. And then I did the same thing. I put together kind of just here's what that would look like. Here's the list of the projects, the amount associated with them, and the year that they could possibly be completed in. Understanding there's bid processes, etc. And then this was this is the pay plan, right? Where the money would come from, what the available balance is, what the spend would be, and what the remaining balance would be in each line item. But again, those were more for illustrative purposes. It's more in line with kind of the way the CIP was done in the past, which is one reason I took this approach. But I think this is the appropriate time, Mayor, to kind of, for y'all to go through and look at and discuss how do you see spending those monies? And I don't know if you want to tackle general fund and then utility fund, or how you want to prioritize those.
I'm wide open. Y'all go ahead.
Why don't we tackle the general fund first, look at what we've got,
Okay.
and at least get a general idea of things we'd like to put some money against.
Okay.
At least get something accomplished. I guess we can start with street funds.
So I put the spending plan up here because it lists out the amounts available, and it's kind of in that Excel format. So it tells you here's the amount that's available from each general fund source. And drainage, I'm kind of treating as separate, but as the mayor pointed out, that's a general fund function. It operates as as a drainage utility, but it's kind of a misnomer because
It's the fifth utility but generally drainage goes with streets or governmental functions, which is general fund. But
And
So it's-
Steinbach drainage would go into maintenance.
well, the Steinbach drainage, that $30,000 should be a maintenance issue. They shouldn't even be on here, in my opinion.
it's more of a try to get consensus around the council on it.
Sure.
It's not because I felt like the amount was
Right.
big enough. It's more like, is this a project you want me to prioritize?
Again, it's my opinion. It's a maintenance issue. Should have already been taken care of. That's my opinion. So I don't even
Well, it's
know
new.
if it raises the question of the city council personally.
The proposed plan isn't, I want to be clear, isn't really maintenance. So maintenance is what I consider existing infrastructure that you go in and weed eat or you clean out, or like the Country Village drainage channel is a maintenance issue, right?
So the $30,000 is building new structure.
It would be a new berming up, renting the equipment, do the berm, making some improvements in the roadway itself, where we would actually create a culvert in the road that's not there now, and redoing the drainage, the box where the inlet is. We would remove the concrete barriers in front and install new concrete or wooden barriers.
$30,000 is not enough.
I don't know if it is really.
No, it's not, because unless our staff is going to do it themselves, which I don't see that happening.
I think most of that stuff we actually could do in-house.
Okay.
The berming and
I also would, with no disrespect to anybody that's ever talked about it before, because of the ongoing issues over there, I believe anything, if you're going to change a drainage pattern, it needs to be engineered.
correct. Yeah. That's where the money could actually.
The-
That's where the 30,000 may not be enough.
To protect the city from any
Yeah.
potential
Yeah.
liability.
We
That's
found
just-
engineering's pretty expensive.
Yes.
All right, so Mayor, how do you want to do the remainder of the meeting? You've got.
Well, if you want to talk about the general fund, if we can do that. That's an interesting conversation. If we're down to basically the project listed, I mean, I can give you my 2 cents worth then, but it is what it is. The streets, whether it be not necessarily all of it, but I would personally like to see the bulk of the money be targeted for streets and or drainage. Now, maintenance, here's the thing. You guys, even when it came to budget, we didn't put maintenance in their funds or sufficient funds to do drainage maintenance. You guys talked about paving, but when we talked about cleaning silt lines and stuff like that, we kind of shied away from that. So
Well, I've mentioned in the past, it almost needs a separate crew, frankly, because if you've got one crew.
then hire a separate crew, but we have to
Right.
maintain these things. We owe this to these people.
Right.
We have drainage problems all over this town, Country Village included, all over this town. And how long are we continue to talk about the lack of proper maintenance? Instead, we just bite the bullet and do it. Even if it requires, now I'm not advocating spending $250,000 to buy a new maintainer. I'm not. I'm okay renting one
Right.
if we have a crew that works it and uses it. I have no problem with that. I still believe that we could find some surplus property, some surplus stuff, good surplus, but that's a different word. But all it takes is a road grader, a loader, and a dump truck. We can do a heck of a lot of drainage work in this town before it rains, and we're faced with that. I mean, but we could get on a project and stay on it.
Yeah.
With a dump truck, a front end loader, and a road grader.
As we found, we started with Geneva project, and as we found, that project took quite a bit longer simply because the folks in the neighborhood.
But I'm not pushing for a drainage project. I'm just looking for simple maintenance along the streets and existing drainage culverts. So Country Village behind from Country Lane all the way out through that drainage system in the
From
back.
Country Lane all the way over to Country Lane.
Yes, exactly right. That has not been properly graded in probably your lifetime or more.
If it's ever been done, then it was in my lifetime. If it was
Right.
when it was built, then
It was
no.
built 40 years ago. So
I don't think it's been substantially cleared.
I don't think so either. So, and that's the city's responsibility to maintain. It's our drainage way. I'm using that as an example.
No, yeah. So
Okay.
would drainage be covered under the general fund or the utility
Their
fund?
drainage, their general fund.
Okay,
It's
I
a
was
general
just
fund.
curious because we have the utility
The
to
drain,
collect money for
the drainage.
but
Okay, yeah. Let me go really quick. The drainage utility was
Was to pay off debt
created to
for-
fund debt service. Period. And then, of course, once it meets its obligation for debt, the small amount it has left, you can do some maintenance with it. But it's not enough to really.
although we issued new debt.
That's correct. So that utility, and it's what, $5 per account, or based on if you have a water meter per account, it generates funds to pay the debt service. So those are specific projects. Maintenance of drainage needs to come out of the general fund expenditure. And all I'm talking about is maintenance. I'm not talking about building new drainage structures. But I'm not talking about building new drainage structures. I'm just talking about maintaining what we got.
And that could be.
That's just my suggestion. That, and then same thing with the streets. Now, streets, and we'll talk about that later. But I like where you put it here, 400,000 a year. I don't know. Maybe we want to just arbitrarily pick $2 million and say that equal to $400,000 a year worth of work. I don't know. I'm just throwing a number out. So we don't get $400,000 today, and then we change our mind. We're just going to do something else. We can always do that, but we're trying to make a commitment moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I really like what he had here, which is that he says the source of funding is adopted budget, because I think
Yes.
putting it in the budget is the best way to make sure it rolls forward into future years.
I agree. I agree.
In the operating budget.
I agree, and because you can fund it through this.
So, Mr. Mayor, you say 2 million for drainage streets / one line item?
Actually, they're two different things, because the drainage I'm using is the drainage and maybe street repairs. Those are maintenance issues. When we're talking about this, if I'm mistaken, this overlay, that's actually paving projects. So they're two different. It's streets, but it's two different animals. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So-
I'm just trying.
So when I just spoke out loud, for example, if you allocate $2 million for street paving, spread over a 5-year period, $400,000 worth of projects a year, okay, and then you target certain streets to do. Now, what I'm trying to say is not spend it all at one time, because things get lost in bigger contracts. Do something we can manage each year, and something that we can maybe partner with the county on certain projects, but not as an overall. If we did it all and we said, okay, we're going to put $2 million out in streets and we're going to put out a contract, the county can't help us. But if we targeted it in projects, we're a company.
I've been working with the county for over a year.
And I'm not saying they can do that.
I've given it, well, they can. I just don't want us to put all our eggs in the basket that we don't have any control over. I've given a list of projects to the county. They've met with our public works group. That's happened. And I've followed up,
Sure.
saying, okay, when is it going to be on your? Let me know when it's going to be on the court meeting so I can go and present and discuss about it, or we can make sure we have the right people in the room. And it just hasn't moved forward. So I would like to partner with as much as or more than any of y'all, but it just hasn't moved forward. And I think, Mayor, with your help, it could help. Like that will help having those conversations.
I talked to the county judge and the commissioner both yesterday and today about moving forward with helping us with some.
It'd be great if we could.
Mayor, if I might,
Sir.
I'll make a proposal on some amounts of money for general fund items. And part of my recommendation is we leave about $1.5 million uncommitted.
Okay.
Okay, because then you can make some adjustments. But I'd say go ahead with the streets for $400K. Put $520 in the library, but don't do the parking. Put that $30K in the Steinbach House drainage. Put a portion of our match grant, at least $250,000, into Lions Park. We don't have to spend it all at once, correct? We have some time on that Lions Park grant. We don't have to spend it all at one time, right?
Well,
You have to commit
it'll all
to it
be
all.
spent on that project.
You have to
So it's
commit
not-
to it all if you
Yeah.
accept the grant.
But we could spread it over a couple of years, could we not?
No.
Okay. Well, let me go on with.
it'll probably be a 2-year
let me just go on with this, and then
Okay,
we can dissect it.
Okay.
And that was one of my concerns. You know, we commit that much money for an item with a limited number of users. It's something to carefully consider. Anyway, some funds for the Lions Park, Regional Park Pool House, $250. Spend at least $500,000 on City Hall. Spend at least $100,000 on parking at the regional park, and that comes up to about $2.050 million.
Run this by me again.
That leaves us about $1.5 million. What?
I was trying to write down what you were saying.
Well, you don't need to. Why don't you just wait till council decides?
That's what I was doing. I have written it down.
We're trying to write it down.
Okay.
Just so you said it, and I lost you after was it 250 for the peak hours?
I said streets $400K, library $520,
I got that.
the drainage $30, Lions Park $250,000. Let's see about that one. Regional Park Pool House $250K, $500K for City Hall, $600,000 for parking at Regional Park.
And the parking was what now, 150?
Regional Park 200.
That won't do everything, but that'll do something. I would just skip the library till later. I mean, the library parking. Right, the library parking. If you get it big enough to take care of the need that's been there forever, that's fine. And they get a parking block and a half away for the time being.
Four-
At least we've got the facility.
400
That's fine, that's fine.
Okay.
Not good.
400 streets, 550 library, 100 in regional park parking, 250 on the pool, 500 City Hall, the Steinbach House drainage, and 250 on the Lions Park. I said it the right way, didn't I?
450 on lines.
I know, but he said 250. But
No, I didn't say 450.
he said 250.
Oh,
He
250.
He said 250.
So go.
Make it 450. I mean, you're still got a bit more than $1 million left. I'm just saying, if y'all like those projects, we can adjust them up and down. I think we ought to leave some uncommitted funds. Because then we can refine it later and say, hey, this is going to be a little more than this. And we haven't expended everything.
Main 6, 2 million, 2, that's about 2.2. It's about 2.2. Okay, 6.
So you can easily make a lot of these. Leave some money, some uncommitted.
I understand. What I don't have any problems with that. What I would suggest 100 on the street, I mean $1 million on the streets, because it's spread over 2 years, 2.5 years. So I commit to show a commitment. We're going to work on the streets. We're talking general fund, guys. We're not talking utilities. So just hang on. You come next. Okay.
But what's a meeting on? I guess council, can't commit us to the future.
Well, you put it in
We
your
can
plan
spend
and
this
your
money
proposal.
tomorrow.
We can do it all now. We can do $1 million and say we're gonna make $1 million project and move on. We could. I'm only asking to spread that over 2 years so it doesn't I'm trying not to hire a separate, independent contractor.
Yeah, I got you.
Try to do as much as we can in-house or with the aid, mutual aid. But, you know, if that's not meant to be, that's not meant to be. So, yep,
6 million.
yep,
So this is a third of that.
yep.
You can adjust
Well,
it.
that's true.
Yeah.
Okay,
I just want to get the discussion started.
Oh.
So,
okay, got
so
it.
my rack and stack.
Yep.
No, Bob understands me when I say that.
Yep, go ahead.
Streets, 700,000.
Okay,
The library addition at 550,000. The reason I'm saying this is because we have the need. We need to meet the need.
don't argue that.
The third is the Lions Playscape for the 750,000. And the fourth would be the pool shower room for 205,000. That's my top four priority.
But we gotta do something.
Well, but what roof? Oh, this roof? Okay.
That's 500.
Honestly, yeah, we've already allocated 38,000
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so you add the roof in there, and that still brings you up to 2.7 million. No. And I didn't put the library off-street parking because we have a problem parking over in that area anyway with all the businesses and everything. And
Yep.
I'm not in for doing that because it's just going to add to the
Yep.
problem.
The only thing I would suggest to add that building down at the park. You've got a $2 million building there. We need a parking lot building, a community building.
Oh, the community center.
So
Yeah,
so
I got it in there.
so
Okay.
I would do that parking.
Let me read this back. I got it in this sheet. 700 on the streets, 500 city hall repair, 548 library addition. There's no parking. You're not doing the parking on the library.
No, because they have a problem with parking in that area.
469 for the Lions Park playground match. 200 original parking and 205 for the showers, and that comes to 2.6.
$700 streets, 550 library. I'm rounding. 450 Lions. 200 on the pool, 200 on the parking up there, 500 City Hall.
And you get to 205 for the showers.
Yes, that's the pool bathhouse. Okay,
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 projects.
And the
Six
City Hall
projects.
roof was mentioned, but as an art approved project.
Okay.
Phil?
No. Phil, you have any thoughts? Okay, yes.
Okay.
Okay, I guess I'm getting 700,000 for streets. That's over a 3-year period.
Actually,
No,
it's just,
that's this year.
it's to do it.
I don't think the city can spend $700,000. They can't mobilize
In a
enough
year,
and
in-house.
get everything done in a house. That happened 6 years ago when came in here and Larry was public works director and it was like allocated, I think it was $700,000. Well, Larry, I asked him, I said, can you get $700,000 of streets built? Because that's what city just said. Planning on hiring people to, he said, no way. So I think, in other words, some of the things you gotta take into account with our capabilities of who we have. And they're good people, but there's only a limited amount, in my mind, a limited amount of.
Yeah, we'd have to see.
Projects that
We'd
can take
we'd have to
over
see what the
the period.
county can do, right?
Yeah, I'd say over a
It's a
2 year,
portion of it.
the 700 over a 2 year period.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you could spend 200 in the first year and
Okay.
500 in the
No.
second.
Well, allocate it for that, however they can get it done. But you're right. To do it over a 2 year period, would that be okay? And then we go
Yeah,
from there.
that-
Okay,
So 700,000 over a 2-year period of time.
correct.
I mean, there's a lot of streets.
Okay, the library, the Lions Park, the pool, bathhouse, the parking lot down at the park, and 500 City Hall to see, start doing stuff. That'll work? Yes, sir. Yes, sir,
Yeah.
please.
So,
Oh, did you have anything else?
That's for now.
Okay, sir.
so what Scott has outlined here,
Yes.
overall, I really agree with. The only two things I would really hesitate on are the two parking lots. But people like driving places. Not everyone wants to ride their bike across the Highway 90 bridge. So I get that. There are two things that that everyone else up here has agreed with that I'm not sure I like the framing on. 500,000 for City Hall might fix the windows or caulk the cracks, but it really doesn't get us to this building being the kind of functional City Hall we need.
Right, but it's a wedge in the door to start.
I know,
We can
and
change
I'm
it up
saying I think it'd be better to at least make the whole plan. If our plan is to use this City Hall and move people out of the Public Works trailers into upstairs,
That's not the point.
to make useful space upstairs and move some city staff that are not currently here to here, we need more than $500,000 to do that. And so I don't think limiting ourselves to that is a sensible option. Second, I've heard 400,000 for streets. I've heard 700,000 over 2 years. I think what we need to say is just 400,000 a year. And understand that eventually that runs in to needing a tax increase. Go door to door and just ask people, say, how would you feel about paying $100, $200 more in property taxes? Because a lot of times that's what it would end up being. We got 1,000 homes in the city. If it was just on the homes to get 400,000, it's $400 a house. How would you feel about paying $400 extra a year, but every street is in roughly the condition that Country Village is right now? And I think you will find, because I've gone through my neighborhood and asked this question, you'll find that people are open to that, especially because it's not actually going to be 400 because we have commercial properties and we have rental properties and not everywhere has the same exemptions. I think we need to not just say, we're going to spend $2 million of this extra money we have on hand and then we'll run out. We need to just commit to saying, we're going to spend $400,000 a year because that's what it takes to support this system. We need to have the courage and the discipline to run a system where the users pay for it. In my opinion. So I think that limiting the City Hall to 500 is short-sighted and advisable. And I think that specifying the total amount we're going to spend on streets instead of just saying, we're going to put this in the budget at 400,000 a year is ultimately not going to solve the problem. That's my thoughts.
I said 500 as a opener to see if there was a commitment to spending something here. We can always change it, but it's a place where we get started on discussing it. Do we want to spend $3.5+ million on this with the rest of the stuff?
I did also have two
Okay,
questions for the city administrator. That's
and voted on it, that the meeting is already over.
at
No, it's
4:45.
4:45.
I thought it was
4:45,
No,
I'm sorry, sir.
4:45.
4:45.
Oh, would you like me to set up that yellow piece of paper up there on the easel and we can write these figures down and take a look?
I have two questions for Scott.
If you'd like to, that's fine. but-
I got it.
I don't know if I'm able.
He's
For
plugged
three
in.
questions.
Put 'em out there so-
Yes,
In
sir.
the old CIP, we have the northern route listed as a line item. Does the city expect additional expenses on the northern route in the near term? But from the city.
Yeah, it'll all really hinge on whether we go through an eminent domain process with Alsatian Oaks to acquire that land. That's the only expense related northern route that we're anticipating at this stage.
Okay. Second one, in the previous CIP sheet, there was about $1 million in unfunded vehicle and equipment replacement. Was a funding stream found for that, or is that something we still need to find a funding stream for?
It's
in the
not,
future?
unfortunately, that is still unfunded.
So we have a vehicle replacement program. We know when we need to buy these vehicles, but we don't really have funding identified for that.
Correct.
So that was $1 million over a an 11-year period. So that might be $100,000 a year, give or take, that we need to find a home for.
Yeah, one of the things that we are going to look at during this budget process that the mayor and I are going to meet with the department heads. One of the things we've been exploring is another way to build that cost into our operations budget to ensure that it gets taken care of. So that's one of the things that we're going to talk about.
And then final thing, we have, I believe, 2 TERSs in the city. One is over Alsatian Oaks and one is over the downtown area.
Right.
Are the funds from the downtown TERS, do those currently have destinations, or could those be spent on, for example, street repairs, drainage improvements in that targeted area?
Yeah, so
because there are some problem areas that fall in those boundaries, and that would be restricted funds. That
yeah, the short answer is yes, they are restricted to TERS projects that are identified when the TERS is created, but the TERS boards respectively can make changes to those projects, the identified projects.
Have we seeded those boards?
I want to say the first one got seeded. The second one I don't think did get seeded. That said,
That's
there's
part
not a
of-
lot of money in those TERSs right now. Like
Okay.
they're very, very, very little money. Not enough to do anything of significance. Like I would have to go look at them out.
Change some light.
Yeah, it's 10 grand was what was in the Alsatian Oaks one last year. Just to
Okay.
give you an idea. The downtown one, I don't know what it would be, but it's a small amount.
All right. Thank you.
Generally, those TERS
Well,
things
I
take
have a question on
20 years.
In our last CIP, not this one, but the one before, we had vehicles in the 350 gas truck, I think is what it was called, 86 grand.
Yeah.
And a combo truck for 377.
Yeah.
They weren't in this set, but is that something? Is that still relevant?
Oh yeah. Anything that isn't in the set that I chose is still relevant. All those projects are still, there's still high priority projects, still things that staff would like to see done. The gas truck is in one of the things I explained to you all in that meeting, and then it came to you subsequently. I said, hey, at your next meeting, this is going to come forward because it's actually a funded, like it's not really a CIP item. It's funded in your operation budget. There's an equipment line item that you have enough money in to spend, and then we wanted to go back and revisit to get better quotes. So that should be coming back. It's not at this meeting, but probably the next meeting on the 10th, and y'all have another opportunity to fund that truck. That's just the gas truck.
Well, then it's important that you heard what Scott said, that we have starting talking budget talks. I'm going to be joining Scott when we start talking to the department heads to justify line items before y'all get to see it. Okay, and so we can go from there. Not that y'all can't have input into that and everything like that, but to get your preliminary stuff to you, we're going to start having those discussions.
Yeah. Those are scheduled to begin in March.
Right.
April, sorry, to begin in April.
April.
Sorry, didn't mean to
April,
give
you're not
people a
gonna
panic
be
attack.
here.
April.
Okay.
She's gonna stick the list up with money figures on it.
Okay, you got 8 minutes.
Yep. Do you want to look at the utility fund available, or do you need a motion on general fund first? What do you want to do, Mayor?
Are we noticed for action right now?
It's a
We're gonna
possible
put
act.
It does say possible
Look at
action.
it again to see if you're gonna make any adjustments. Is that okay?
I will
Figures up.
tell you this. The idea still is the same as what I told you. You're going to give me these amounts and the general spending categories, but I'm going to come, in fact, not probably, I will be coming back to you like City Hall. If you say, okay, we just want to spend 500,000. Okay, great. I'm going to follow up the plan that we had, and then I'm going to try to figure out how we go about spending 500,000, and I'll bring you several different options on what a 500,000 investment in this building looks like. But be prepared. It won't, as David said, it's not going to be a remodel at that point. It's just fixing windows, fixing electric. doing some other things.
By the way, I agree with David. I think instead of saying 700,000, I think you should commit to do 400,000 a year and put that in the city's operating budget, part of the budget. And that's going to put stress on that. I realize that you have additional tax revenues coming in, but that needs to be an ongoing thing.
When y'all did build in 250 this year, so it's not like you're trying to come up with 400,000. If we're able to build in that 250 and without missing a beat, then really you're trying to come up with another 150.
But even running it at 400, you put it at 400, you can put it at 500, you can put it at 700. Doesn't matter, because whatever it takes, you're going to take out of reserve funds to transfer into the general operating to pay for it.
Right, and I think
So
that's
whatever,
everybody understands that.
whatever number you wanted to put in, it's not putting 400,000, 500, 600,000 in is not necessarily equating to a tax
This is
increase.
the parking.
It's just being funded from this over into a budget.
Yeah,
line.
the only thing is
Until
when you-
that runs out.
when you adopt an operating budget, one of the things that your rating agencies and others look at is whether your current revenues cover current expenses.
I understand
So
that.
this is why I kind of made a big deal about it when we were talking about before, and we put in that 250. The reason I had put that down below the line and showed the transfer is because we have to make sure that we have ongoing revenues cover ongoing expenses. Otherwise, you're not adopting a balanced budget.
So based on that comment right there, your recommendation, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, I'm going to use your own, what you just said.
Yeah.
Your approach would be not to put it in the budget, but keep it as a capital expenditure.
No, what I would say is if you
Because
put
if
it,
you don't have the revenues to pay for it, and you got to pull it out of reserve monies, you just said that would look unfavorable on it.
right, and so I'm not recommending using reserve monies. That's what I'm telling you.
So
I
you're
think-
going to recommend a substantial tax increase to pay for it?
No,
Not
you and I are going to
substantial.
work on the general fund budget,
Okay.
and we're going to try and figure out how to fund 400,000.
Okay,
That's the
thank you.
goal.
Okay,
Going
good.
back-
Yeah,
What I
without
was saying.
having to use a transfer, like
Six.
that's the goal.
Okay.
Because you aren't funding tourism, right? And we're
I've got
only
it.
using the occupancy tax for that. So there's some places where we might be able to get some money. Plus, we're going to have a little bit of an increase year over year. So you and I will get to look at all that, Mayor,
Sure.
and try to figure out a plan where 400,000 is actually funded from
No problem.
ongoing revenues.
All
That's
right.
the goal.
So right now, we funded 250 in our budget. Next year would be 400. We'd continue that on. So that first thing up there about the streets, that comes off that list. Because that's not going to come out of the CIP. That's going to come out of our general revenue fund. I think that's what David was saying, and I agree with that. And then I also think, like David was saying, is that to throw 500,000 on this building needs to be fixed up. And I think it's one of those, for instance, I would prefer to fix up this building the way it's supposed to be fixed up than to build parking lots at our community center. They're going to come. They will come. But right now we do have usable parking lots there. And there is some money in there already to fix up the roadway around the front, but there is nothing in there for the parking lots. And, but again, I think that money I would rather see in here.
Can I just point out real quick? So the amount of monies y'all have been talking about are less than $3.5 million, and you borrowed $3.5 million in the general fund. And one of the things the mayor said when y'all borrowed that money is, I want an identified list of pride. I would really, really strongly encourage y'all to figure out how you're going to spend that $3.5 million first. You borrowed $3.5. How are you going to spend it? What are you going to spend it on? It's got limited uses it can be spent on, and those have been provided to you as well. So I'd recommend figure that money out, and then you've got this other cash pools as well.
Since those are my words, but let's finish the rest of it. If we knew we had this much money in reserves, we shouldn't have borrowed the $3.5 million.
Oh, I
Because we
disagree with that.
Because we had the money to pay that bill.
Yeah, I would disagree. I would still have thought that we paid.
That's an opinion.
Okay, it is my opinion.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
two.
Okay.
You have 2.5. Anyway, go ahead.
We have a list this long of stuff in the general fund that we haven't even
Sure.
looked at.
Utility fund.
We're trying to get a starting point that we can at least agree on something.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Whether it's more or less. And could you do this building as a part of the not? You probably could. You could put the changes upstairs and take care of that and maybe not do the rest yet, but you can't. Like I said, I mean,
Yeah.
this gets us pointed in the direction we need to go. Its amounts could change, but right now we got only 2.6 mil.
So you could put columns up there because Phil King's list is.
Well, I know. Let's put it up there. I'm saying it's easier to look at it on a piece of paper and kind of conceptualize it to know what we're dealing with than everybody looking at the piece of paper in front of them.
Well,
You got 5 minutes.
4 minutes.
Go ahead, yes, sir.
I'll
Yes,
set the
sir.
clock back.
Go ahead.
3 minutes.
I'd like to request something from, because we haven't gotten to the utility fund, and I think this is something that would be useful.
Oh, yeah.
For the next time we discuss this, because I'm sure we're going to come back to talk about the utility fund again. Right now, we have one water line replacement in here. Last time we had a CIP meeting, staff estimated that over half the pipes in the city are 30 years past their useful, safe life expectancy. I think that if anything like this has ever been generating, seeing a a full water line replacement plan schedule that goes for, 10, 15 years and eventually loops back around to the start would be really valuable, because right now we know how much it costs to replace that one line. And we really don't know how that generalizes to the rest of the system. So I think that would be really, and so I don't know if that exists. If it doesn't exist, it probably doesn't have time to come into existence before our next discussion. But an old one's better than nothing. I can multiply by 2 for inflation.
Can we recess this until after that?
We can, but that would be up to everyone here too. What is this?
If you
3?
recess it, you have to come back tomorrow. So basically, we have to finish it up.
No, you can recess after.
No, we can come back after this meeting. We can.
After the regular.
We can come after.
That's 315.
Huh?
You would need to recess, and then you can come back whatever time you finish up.
Right, following the regular meeting, we could recess it and come back and reconvene this at that time.
So you don't think the 6 o'clock meeting's going to go that late?
No, not if we don't go. Not if we
I'll
don't
say
get
that
through
most of
the.
the items are.
Not if we don't get through the
Things we're
enterprise
haggling
fund.
about are on the agenda.
Okay,
so
what is this? The 303.
3150K.
3.1 million.
150,000.
Okay.
Then 470K and
Okay.
205K.
Okay. Oh, you're advocating $3 million for City Hall.
Yes.
The full shebang.
Okay.
What's the 470?
Okay.
The Lions Park.
Lions
Yeah.
Park.
Okay.
Yeah, that's on the other one, and the
And so then
205 post
you're
office.
tossing the 2 parking lots.
Yes, for
So
now.
you're saying the 702 is completely out of your cost.
Yeah, because it's part of the general fund.
And he's saying,
we don't need it in this.
and so he's saying,
We don't have the money.
you're saying to put it in via new taxes.
No.
It may or may
No.
not, depends on the
I
budget.
want
Depends
to
on the
clear.
budget.
So the work that Bruce and I would undertake, your mayor and I would undertake, is to try and work in as much money as we can into the streets line item. This year y'all did 250, and it looks like, all things being equal, that we're going to be able to meet that without drawing down your reserves. So we should be able to increase that by some amount. It's going to take some finagling on the general fund side. You're not doing a tourism department going forward. That's a pocket of money that's available that I would recommend putting towards streets based on this conversation. So I think it's a doable goal. I don't know how close we're going to get to 400, but even if we get to 320 or something, that's still an operating streets budget that could make a real dent in helping y'all achieve some goals. That's what we would try to do. But that would come out of the operating budget. It wouldn't be out of your pocket of money over here.
Okay. If unless there's an objection, do I need to get a motion to do this? I'm going to look for a motion to recess this meeting for now and to reconvene following the regular council meeting this evening.
So this would be overruling our motion from earlier
Actually, this meet
to adjourn at 4:45.
basically yes. We're
Recess.
we're recessing.
Yeah, you're not.
You still got 45.
Whatever time we finish.
I'm just making sure that if we need to overrule it, we do that too.
Okay.
That's all.
Looking for a motion to recess this meeting for now and reconvening back after the regular city council meeting this evening.
Motion is stated.
Second.
Motion made second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No. Motion carries. This meeting is at recess at 4:40, whatever the time is. 4:46.